All right, let's dive right in. Today, we're cracking open a kind of historical vault, one filled with these dusty blueprints and brilliant prototypes that history just left behind. We're talking about inventions that could have totally changed our world, but for whatever reason, they just disappeared. I mean, think about that for a second. What if the future wasn't something we have to invent from scratch? What if it's already been thought of and all we have to do is remember it? It's a pretty wild idea, right? So let's dig into that. So consider this our expedition into that very vault. We're going to dust off the schematics for things like flying machines, free energy devices, the kind of tech that was literally centuries ahead of its time. Okay, first stop on our tour, we're going to shine a light on some of the brilliant minds behind these ideas, the people whose biggest, grandest inventions just never saw the light of day. These are the forgotten visionaries. And of course, where else could we possibly start but with the legend himself, Nikola Tesla. Now, we all know him for AC power, sure, but it's his unrealized inventions, the ones that never happened, that tell this incredible story of genius running headfirst into some really powerful resistance. And this is really the core of it. You've got this huge divide. On one hand, you have Tesla's dream, a whole planet powered by clean, free, wireless energy just beamed right through the air. And on the other hand, well, you have our reality. It's a tangled mess of cables and a total dependence on fossil fuels. Just try to picture the world he was imagining for a second. And believe me, his ambition did not stop there. He was thinking about things like a teleforce weapon, you've probably heard it called a death ray, and even devices that could potentially control the weather. So you have to ask, right? Were these ideas just too dangerous, or were they maybe suppressed because they were just too powerful to be allowed? All right, let's switch gears. We're going to rewind the clock now way back, long before Tesla. We're about to uncover some technologies that honestly defy everything we thought we knew about the ancient world. It really goes to show you that innovation isn't just this straight, forward-moving line. We're talking millennia ago, ancient engineers and thinkers were creating devices so sophisticated that we, today, are only just starting to wrap our heads around them. Okay, check this out. What's so mind-blowing here is the massive gap in time. You have the Antikythera mechanism from around 100 BCE. It's this incredibly complex device of bronze gears, basically an ancient analog computer. And it was so far ahead of its time that nothing even close to its complexity was made again for over 1,000 years. It's like this giant leap in tech that then just vanished into thin air. And it wasn't just about gadgets and computers either. Just look at Roman concrete. I mean, the Pantheon in Rome is still standing after 2,000 years. Why? Because the Romans figured out a formula for concrete that literally gets stronger over time by healing its own cracks. How cool is that? So here's the secret sauce. It's actually brilliant in its simplicity. When a tiny crack forms and water gets in, it activates these little bits of lime that were mixed in. That kicks off a chemical reaction that grows new crystals. And those crystals literally fill the crack and stitch the concrete back together. It's pure genius, and it's ancient. Okay, so all of this brings us to the big question, the really crucial one. Were these incredible inventions just forgotten by accident, lost to time, or were some of them deliberately buried? Yeah, this is the central mystery we're trying to solve. Because the answer to why these ideas failed, well, that answer explains why we live in the world we do today, and not in some other, radically different version of it. So when you start looking at the patterns, a few key reasons keep popping up. A really big one is powerful industries actively suppressing ideas that threaten them. Other times, an invention is just way too far ahead of its time. People just aren't ready for it. And then, of course, there's the classic, sad story. Not enough funding, not enough support. And we've got some perfect examples. I mean, get this. Electric cars were actually pretty common in the 1890s, before the oil industry basically shoved them out of the market. Or Charles Babbage, who designed the first real computer way back in the 1830s, but the technology to actually build the parts just didn't exist yet. And Leonardo da Vinci's flying machines? Absolutely brilliant sketches, but he never found a patron with deep enough pockets to turn them into a reality. But, this isn't all a sad story. There's a hopeful turn here. Because what was lost doesn't always stay lost forever. It turns out history sometimes gets a second chance. And that's because with the technology we have now, and with a totally new perspective, we can look back at these old, forgotten ideas and finally unlock what they were really capable of. It's like history is getting a reboot.
For instance, let's go back to that amazing Roman concrete, that ancient self-healing formula. It is directly inspiring a whole new generation of eco-friendly, super durable building materials that could totally revolutionize how we build things today.
Or how about those wild transportation dreams? There was this thing in the 1800s called the atmospheric railway. It used air pressure to push trains. Sounds kind of quaint, right? Well, it's the direct ancestor of today's super futuristic Hyperloop concepts. It's the same core idea, just reborn for green, high-speed travel. And this is where our whole story comes full circle. We're back to Tesla. His biggest, boldest, most radical idea, beaming power wirelessly through the air, isn't just science fiction anymore. Right now, today, scientists are running new experiments trying to finally make that incredible dream a reality.
You know, this quote just perfectly captures the heart of all this. It really makes you think that progress isn't always about charging forward. Sometimes it's about looking back and rediscovering the genius we forgot. So, that leaves us with one last thing to chew on. If the past really is a blueprint just sitting there filled with these forgotten ideas, what parts of it should we choose to build next? What lost marvel is just waiting out there for us to find it and give it a second chance?